In the beautiful London with Vinay Gupta. He's the founder of Mattereum. How are you doing, Vinay?
Oh, not too bad at all. It's been quite a long day.
Yeah. Crypto Challenge Forum, a beautiful location in London. How's it been up to so far for you?
It's been a fantastic event. We tried to get the heaviest possible set of speakers for this thing because we really wanted to set a high watermark, right? The subtitle is Blockchain in the Future of Humanity, Environment, Economy and Ethics.
Yeah.
And with a title like that, you have to bring out the A-list.
Yeah, we just saw a singer MIA, for instance. That was a good one.
Yeah, marvelous.
Yeah.
Really marvelous.
So, what do you think? What took you back home on the first day? What are some of the conclusions?
Well, I mean, we were helping organise this thing a little, so you never really get to experience your own conference. So Max actually runs the conference, and it's very much his show. But we had a ton of input into it, and so you're always like, "Oh, they turned up! Wow, that was really good!" And you're always in that mind where you're thinking about the mechanics of it rather than the content so much. But yeah, it's been a fantastic kind of range through everything that's happening. The presentation from the government of Liechtenstein was probably the high point. Very, very sophisticated thinking about how to handle crypto assets, and I think that's going to be an amazing set of breakthroughs.
If we look at the trends in crypto, I mean, is is that a dominant trend?
Well, I mean, there's not much to buy yet, right? Everybody wants that to be the next thing. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. What do you think if we look to the ICO market? Is it some people say, okay, New York Stock Exchange is putting STOs on the exchange, so is that the how do you say, the death match of ICOs or?
So, I mean, most of the ICOs were crap, and everybody knew the ICOs were crap, and everybody played along because they were making money. Yeah. And that kind of stuff, people go to jail for that kind of stuff. Do not be surprised when the prosecutions start and there's a whole bunch of new whining, right? Very bad things were done. Everybody knows that. We have to knock the game off, and people have to get serious. Yeah. This stuff is real finance. People are losing their homes over this. So, the STO thing, at least it will be fully regulated, so it's much less likely to run into those kind of pump and dump scam type things. But it's also moving away from the original dream of a boundaryless, permissionless crypto.
True.
Growing up is also growing old.
So what do you think? I mean, what are the plans for Mattereum itself as a project, as a company?
Well, so we just launched the new light paper. It's on the website, and it describes the function of the smart property register, the asset passports, and the automated custodian. And those systems together absolutely finally solve the problem of how you get assets on chain. So we now present an actual legal procedure that you follow to take a fiat asset like a house or a car and get it on chain in a way which is properly legally binding, so it could be controlled with a smart contract.
All right. We have a partnership with eToro?
No, the company is Mattereum.
Oh, sorry.
But that,
I know.
Right, but that protocol will run on top of various different blockchains.
Okay.
Right, because it's a protocol rather than a product.
Yeah, all right. But these are important protocols. I mean, these are actually the creative capital in this space. I mean,
well, look, at the end of the day, we need to be able to get assets on chain because right now there's nothing to buy, there's nothing for the smart contracts to control other than CryptoKitties.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at this moment, there's also in Prague. There's this DEFCON going on, DEFCON 4.
Yeah, I'm going there tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, what are the expectations of that? I mean,
it's going to be wild, right? It's going to be a riot as always.
What do you? I mean, for Ethereum itself, what do you expect? I mean,
the DevCons are always the kind of big sort of cyclical markers, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets together in one place. Everybody takes stock. This time it will be like, oh my God, we were billionaires. Wow, now we're back to merely millionaires for the people that were trading tokens, right? Sure. So there'll have been a bunch of, peak and trough. There'll have been elation and depression. And I think there's going to be a very strong emphasis on scaling debates.
Yeah.
All of that.
Some people say, I was at this Bitcoin Cash event, and they say, some of these people say we love Ethereum, but it can't scale. That was a bit of a, why this?
Because smart contracts do actual work. They're much more complicated to scale than just transactions. But it will scale. It's being difficult, but we knew it was going to be difficult. right? But we've got very, very smart people working on them, and a lot of them. So there's a certain amount of wait and see here.
All right, all right. Just a few more questions. So, what are the next plans for Mattereum the coming 6 months?
So we're going to start tokenizing some very, very interesting historical assets. I can't say too much about that right now. Historical, right? I mean, actual museum type stuff.
Like the Abbey and
you have to wait and see. Right? But the reason we're doing that is because it's a really good showcase for the role of provenance and the role of evidence in verifying the value of an asset. And we want to do high value assets first because it's just easier to do the paperwork if you're doing it for a few high value assets and lots of small assets. So watch this space. There's going to be some very interesting stuff coming out.
How is the cooperation with institutions, with the authorities going? Because some of these museums are in the hands of institutions.
More about that as news emerges.
Okay. To conclude, I mean, what are actually your favorite cryptocurrencies? May I ask?
Well, so the currencies, basically, I don't really care about the currencies. We have kind of a non-trading policy at Mattereum because we're doing so much kind of complicated legal stuff that the prospects for things like conflict of interest weigh very heavily upon us. Ditto things like insider trading risk, right? Yeah. So generally speaking, we are not traders. In terms of technologies, EOS works, right? Ethereum is going through radical revolutionary change. Amazing things are happening. We're quite close friends with a company called Adjoint, who have a fantastic, formally verified permission ledger technology. Adjoint. Okay. So we're very much about the technology. We just want to wait and see what the adoption looks like.
All right. And where does it end? I mean, in the end, we now have apps on our smartphone. How long does it take before we have dApps and decentralized network? And
it's probably going to be 15 minutes after we get scaling. Right? We're all waiting for scaling.
Yeah, for scaling. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Vinny, for your time, and all the best.
Good talking, man. Take care.
Yes.